Just 2 minutes ago, the entire sports world was flipped on its head and no one saw it coming. Pat McAfee, the wild card of sports commentary and an apologetic king of controversy, has just gone viral after making a jaw-dropping statement about none other than Caitlin Clark, and let's just say, fans are in full meltdown mode. The former NFL punter turned media mogul let something slip during his live show that has left Twitter scorched, ESPN scrambling, and even some of his closest friends in disbelief. What did he say? Why did he say it? And why are so many people calling it career-ending? Now, here's the twist: McAfee didn't just throw shade. He threw fire, and the person caught in the flames. Caitlin Clark, the rising icon of women's basketball, America's sweetheart, and the pride of a new generation. According to multiple sources who were watching the live stream, McAfee made a statement so loaded, so explosive, it had his producers jumping into damage control mode before the broadcast even ended. Within minutes, hashtags like #CancelMCAFE and #StandWithCaitlin were trending across social platforms. But here's where it gets even wilder. A mysterious insider claims this wasn't a slip-up. It was planned. Yes, you heard that right. This could be part of something much bigger. Fans are now divided. Some are calling it truth finally spoken, while others say McAfee went too far and needs to sit this one out. Emotions are running high, celebrities are weighing in, and even Caitlin Clark's camp has allegedly issued a private warning behind closed doors. So what exactly did Pat McAfee say? Why is the internet tearing itself apart over it? And is this the beginning of a massive fall from grace or the spark of a new, unfiltered sports war? Buckle up, because we're about to unpack every single detail of this shocking controversy, and trust us, you won't believe how deep it goes. It started like any other high-energy episode of the Pat McAfee Show. The studio buzzed with its usual bro energy, laughter echoing through the walls, and the crew tossing footballs between takes like it was just another Tuesday. But this Tuesday, this wasn't going to end with jokes and beer. This Tuesday was about to send shockwaves through sports media, leave fans clutching their pearls, and throw Caitlin Clark, America's most beloved basketball prodigy, right into the center of a firestorm no one saw coming. It was in the final 10 minutes of the show, during a casual discussion that started with a few remarks about the NBA Finals, drifted into an all deals, and somehow veered straight toward Caitlin Clark, and then, with zero hesitation, Pat McAfee leaned back in his chair, adjusted his headset, and said the 10 words that would detonate the internet in real time. Caitlin Clark isn't the player y'all think she is. The room went silent. His co-hosts blinked, unsure if he was joking. You could almost hear the metaphorical record scratch in the background. Wait, what? AJ Hawk said, trying to laugh it off. Are we doing this right now? Pat didn't smile. No, I mean it. She's overhyped. She's good, sure, but come on. We're acting like she's the second coming of Jordan just because she's white, cute, and can shoot from half court. Boom, that was the moment. The clip was already being ripped from the live stream, uploaded, screen recorded, stitched into TikToks. The chat exploded. Twitter lit up like a Christmas tree of outrage. And McAfee, he just sipped his energy drink, like he hadn't just declared war on the golden girl of women's basketball. But it wasn't just the words, it was the tone, dismissive, sarcastic, almost bored, and that's what fans couldn't handle. Caitlin Clark, who had broken nearly every college record known to humankind, who had packed arenas and single-handedly shifted the spotlight onto women's basketball in a way no one else had done in a decade, she was being reduced to a trope. A meme, a hot take on a slow news day. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Celebrities started posting. WNBA players tweeted. ESPN anchors allegedly had a heated debate behind the scenes over whether they should even acknowledge the clip or let it burn out on its own. Spoiler alert, it didn't burn out. It spread, and fast. Caitlin's fans dubbed the Clark Collective on social media mobilized instantly. Hashtags like #RespectCaitlyn and #AMCAFE misstep began trending. Within the hour, funny how women have to be perfect to get half the respect a mid-tier male player gets. One tweet read, gaining over 200,000 likes. Another, even more biting. If Pat McAfee had 1/10 of Caitlin Clark's talent, he'd still be in the NFL. But this wasn't just a fan reaction. Within hours, official statements were being prepped. Rumors leaked that Caitlyn's management team had called the ESPN execs directly, demanding to know why one of their flagship personalities was allowed to disparage her on air without immediate consequences. One unnamed source claimed Caitlyn herself had been visibly upset, slamming her phone down after watching the clip and asking, "What more do I have to do?" Meanwhile, McAfee, in classic McAfee fashion, doubled down. He posted a follow-up video later that night from his living room, still wearing his tank top and chain, surrounded by dogs and dumbbells. "Y'all are really mad. How?" He said, chuckling, "I said what I said. Caitlin Clark is a great shooter. But y'all acting like she's gonna walk into the WNBA and dominate like it's middle school. That's not hate, that's reality. The league is stacked with killers. She's not owed a crown." Again, boom. Another explosion, except this time, the fallout reached deeper. That night, Candace Parker posted a now iconic tweet. Funny how men who couldn't even guard Caitlin Clark feel bold enough to critique her. Lisa Leslie retweeted it with a single word, facts. Even Diana Taurasi, who's never been known for biting her tongue, went on an Instagram live and said, "Pat's mad because a woman is getting more headlines than him." That's it. That's the tweet. The support for Caitlyn was massive. Former players, current stars, sports influencers, feminist icons, everyone started chiming in. Some called for McAfee to issue a formal apology. Others called for ESPN to suspend him. But some went deeper. They dug up old clips, past comments, patterns. A resurfaced video from 2019 suddenly went viral again. McAfee laughing during a segment where another host joked about women's sports being the halftime show to the men's game. He didn't say the joke, but he laughed loudly. Now, 4 years later, that laugh came back to haunt him. Fans began creating montage videos titled "The Problem with Pat," showcasing moments where he dismissed female athletes, mocked WNBA ratings, or referred to women's soccer as cute cardio. It wasn't looking good, not at all. But here's the real twist, and it's where this story begins to take an unexpected and almost sinister turn. A whistleblower. That's right, an anonymous source claiming to be a former staffer on the Pat McAfee show came forward on Reddit under the username Locker Room Leak. In a now-deleted post, they claimed the Caitlin Clark comments were not spontaneous. According to this insider, Pat had been furious after hearing ESPN was preparing a huge WNBA Caitlin Clark docuseries that didn't include him or his show. He wanted in, the post read. When they said no, he said, "Watch how fast I make her name trend without kissing up to her." The post ended with this chilling line, "It was a stunt, but it backfired badly." The post went viral before it was deleted. Screenshots were everywhere. And suddenly, a new narrative emerged. What if Pat McAfee wasn't just being reckless? What if he was strategic? What if the entire thing was a play for attention, influence, or even revenge? People who had defended him began to feel duped. One prominent sports blogger tweeted, "We thought he was just loud and wrong. Now it looks like he was calculated and cold." The conspiracy wheels started turning. Why had the show's producers not cut the segment in post? Why had McAfee waited 6 hours to respond when his usual mo is to clap back instantly? And most importantly, what was ESPN going to do now? Rumors swirled that network executives had already held two emergency meetings. One source claimed McAfee's future at ESPN was not guaranteed, with higher-ups debating whether his unpredictability was finally too much of a liability. But There was also fear that disciplining him would make him a martyr to his rabid fanbase, many of whom were already posting McAfee was right hashtags and calling Caitlin Clark overrated in droves. The tension was thick. There were internal emails, legal consultations, PR strategists pacing office floors, and while the chaos unfolded publicly, privately, Caitlin Clark's world was reportedly shaken. A close friend told a sports podcast off the record that Caitlin felt blindsided, that she looked up to McAfee's rise and had even once hoped to appear on his show. She thought he was funny. She thought he got it. Now she thinks he's just another dude who sees women as a headline, not a human. That same friend added, she's hurt. Like, deeply, but she's also angry, and she's not staying silent. And just as the internet was starting to gasp for breath, Caitlin Clark went live. Caitlin Clark's Instagram live wasn't planned. There was no PR team, no glossy lighting, no carefully scripted message. Just her hair tied back, hoodie on, sitting in her dimly lit bedroom with raw emotion written all over her face. She looked like she hadn't slept. And the moment her live started, over 200,000 viewers flooded in within the first minute. That number would balloon to nearly 1 million before she even finished her first sentence. I wasn't going to say anything, she began quietly, her voice steady but heavy. But it feels like I don't have the privilege of silence anymore. The comments flew in, hearts, fire emojis, clapping hands, but also messages like, "We got you, drag him, and speak your truth, queen." Caitlin took a deep breath. What Pat McAfee said hurt, she continued. Not because it was true, it wasn't. Not because I can't handle criticism I've dealt with that my whole career. It hurt because it came from someone I respected. Someone I thought understood what it takes to rise in a world that doesn't want to see people like me succeed. She paused, wiping her cheek as the emotions broke through. I've worked my ass off. I didn't get here because I'm white or because I'm cute. I got here because I've given up everything: parties, sleep, time with family, health to be the best. So when someone with a massive platform reduces all that to a punchline, it's not just disappointing. It's personal. The internet erupted. Within seconds, #WeStandWithCaitlin was the #1 trend worldwide. Fans reposted her live with captions like, "Caitlin just buried Pat with poise and grace, and this is what strength looks like." Even mainstream news outlets began streaming the clip. It was no longer just a sports moment. It had become a cultural flashpoint. But the most shocking part, Caitlin named names. "This isn't just about one man's words," she said. "It's about the system that rewards men for being loud and penalizes women for being confident. I'm tired of it, and I'm not playing along anymore." She didn't scream. She didn't clap back with sarcasm. She spoke with quiet power, and that power shook people. So much so that within minutes of the live ending, ESPN's social team released a formal statement on their ex-formerly Twitter account. "We stand behind Caitlin Clark. We value and celebrate the athletes shaping our future." Notably, Pat McAfee's name was not mentioned, but fans noticed something even more telling: McAfee didn't say a word. No response, no tweet, no follow-up stream. For a man who thrived off chaos, who lived to stir the pot and throw gasoline on flames, his silence was thunderous. And that silence, it had people talking. Some speculated he was being muzzled by ESPN. Others believed he was preparing a massive comeback response. But the longer he stayed quiet, the more control of the narrative Caitlin seized. And she wasn't done. The very next morning, Caitlin showed up unapologetically confident on Good Morning America. Sitting across from Robin Roberts, she smiled. "You know," she said, "when people try to dim your light, you have two choices. You can shrink, or you can shine brighter. I'm choosing the second." Robin leaned forward. "Are you open to speaking with Pat McAfee privately?" Caitlin didn't hesitate. "I don't need an apology in private. I need change in public." Boom, another mic drop, another viral moment. Within hours, McAfee's name was back on every trending. Listed now with terms like misogyny, accountability, and platform responsibility attached to it. Media watchdogs began circling. Think pieces filled sports sites and feminist blogs alike. Even sponsors started reevaluating. It was reported that a major energy drink company long associated with Pat had quietly removed him from their brand partner page. And then came the leak. A reporter from a popular sports gossip blog posted screenshots of an internal ESPN Slack channel showing executives debating how to handle the McAfee fallout. One message read, "We can't protect him if he keeps doubling down. It's alienating to many demographics." Another read, "We warned him last month about off-script commentary. Now he's jeopardizing the brand." The leak made one thing clear. Pat's empire was fragile. And Caitlyn, she wasn't the underdog anymore. She was winning, but not. Everyone agreed. That's when a surprise figure stepped into the ring, former NFL tight end Shannon Sharpe. On his podcast, Plug Shay Shay, Shannon addressed the firestorm. "Now listen," he said, sipping from a monogrammed glass. "I don't cosign what Pat said. But I will say this, some of y'all acting like the man called her trash or disrespected her family. He gave a bad take, that's it. Should he apologize? Maybe. Should he be canceled? I don't know about that." His words added fuel to a different fight division. Suddenly, fans weren't just rallying behind Caitlyn, they were choosing sides. Celebrities, influencers, and former players all threw in their 2 cents. Charles Barkley defended Pat, saying, "He's an idiot sometimes, but that doesn't make him evil." Meanwhile, Sue Bird tweeted, "Women shouldn't have to earn grace after being attacked. That's not equality." The sports world was officially fractured, and McAfee still silent until he wasn't. 3 days after the original comment, Pat McAfee returned to his show, and this time, the vibe was different. No music, no bouncing energy, just him, alone, in front of a black backdrop. "I've had a few days to think," he began, "and I owe you all something real." Especially Caitlin Clark. His tone was low, measured, almost unlike him. "When I said what I said, I was being honest. But honesty without respect is just ego, and I let my ego talk louder than my brain. That's on me." He paused, clearly rattled. "To Caitlyn, I'm sorry, not because of the backlash. Not because ESPN is breathing down my neck, but because you didn't deserve that. You've done things I never even dreamed of. You carry a whole sport on your back with poise and power. And for me to reduce that to a soundbite, that was cheap." The apology, raw and unexpected, drew mixed reactions. Some fans applauded, others remained skeptical. But what no one expected, not even his co-hosts, was what he said next. "I've decided to step back from the show for a few weeks," he said, "not because I'm being punished, but because I need to reflect and to make space for other voices, especially women in sports who don't get enough mic time." It was a shocking move, Pat McAfee voluntarily stepping down, the same man who once said, "I don't take breaks, I break the rules." The comment section lit up with disbelief. His team looked stunned, but he wasn't done. "I've invited Caitlin Clark to co-host a special episode when she's ready. If she says no, I get it. But the offer stands, and not just to her too. Every woman who's been dismissed by this industry. My studio is open, and I'm ready to listen." The internet lost its mind. Half of Twitter erupted in forgiveness. The other half called it damage control. But one thing was clear, Pat McAfee had pulled off the rarest trick in sports media: the live, high-wire act of a public redemption arc in real time. And yet, the question lingered, would Caitlyn accept? The world waited with bated breath. Within minutes of Pat McAfee's emotional on-air apology, hashtags exploded once again, this time with clashing tones. Hashtag Paytown uptrended alongside hashtag Too Little Too Late. Fans, reporters, athletes, and pundits dissected every word, every pause, every eyebrow twitch. Did he really mean it? Was it authentic? Or was this all one giant PR spin engineered to save his contracts? His clout, his empire. Caitlin Clark's camp stayed silent for 24 hours. No tweets, no press statements, no public response. That silence was strategic. It wasn't just Caitlin processing the apology. Behind the scenes, ESPN was reportedly scrambling to facilitate the proposed co-hosting episode. A source close to the network revealed a flurry of internal discussions. If she says yes, it's historic. But if she says no, we back her fully. Either way, we're walking a tightrope. The insider admitted, for Caitlin, the stakes weren't just personal anymore, they were national. Every move she made now had ripples far beyond the court. Then, as the sports world held its breath, Caitlin posted a video. No music, no dramatic lighting, just her. Once again, sitting in front of a simple backdrop. But this time, her expression was clear, not tired, not defeated, focused. Pat, she said directly into the camera, I saw your apology, and I felt the sincerity in it. I respect anyone who's willing to grow, especially in public. So I accept your invitation, under one condition, a long pause. This can't just be about me. If I'm coming on your show, we're going to talk about the broader issue, the real stuff. The way women in sports are treated, dismissed, minimized. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. The video blew up instantly. Within 2 hours, it had 5 million views across Instagram and X. The buzz turned electric. This wasn't just damage control now, this was a full-blown cultural moment. Pat reposted the video with a single caption, let's do it right. Next Friday, unfiltered, uncut, Clark x McAfee. The anticipation for that episode was unlike anything sports talk had seen. ESPN began teasing the upcoming crossover like it was the Super Bowl of sit-downs. Promo clips, dramatic trailers, countdown timers. The network knew it had a powder keg of emotion, controversy, and potential redemption sitting in its lap. The only question was, would it heal or explode again? The morning of the show, downtown Indianapolis saw something almost surreal. Fans lining up outside the McAfee studio, holding homemade signs that read, Caitlin deserves better. This is bigger than sports, and even shut up and let her speak. Pat. Inside, the studio had been rearranged. No couches, no footballs, just 2 chairs, one for Caitlin, one for Pat. No distractions. Pat came in first, clearly tense but determined. Then Caitlin entered. And for a brief moment, it felt like the air itself paused. Welcome, Pat said. Quietly, thank you, Caitlin nodded. Let's talk, and they did for 90 uncut minutes. Caitlin and Pat engaged in one of the most brutally honest, emotionally layered, and unexpectedly inspiring conversations sports television had ever aired. It wasn't a puff piece. It wasn't a pity parade. It was raw, real, and riveting. Caitlin spoke about growing up idolizing male athletes because there weren't enough visible women in sports. She talked about the pressure of being perfect, how every misstep felt like a referendum not just on her but on women's sports as a whole. When a guy has an off night, he's human. When I have one, it's see. This is why women's sports don't matter. That's the difference. Pat didn't interrupt. He listened. And when it was his turn, he opened up more than anyone expected. He shared how fame warped his perception, how becoming a media mogul made him feel untouchable, and how easy it was to mistake shock value for honesty. I thought I was being real. Turns out, I was being loud, he admitted. Then came the turning point. Caitlin leaned forward. Do you know what hurt the most? She asked. It wasn't the words. It was the idea that someone with your reach would reinforce the same crap we've been fighting our whole careers. You have the platform we dream of. And you used it to say I'm just a product of hype. Pat looked her dead in the eye. And that was wrong. Not just wrong, lazy. You're not hype, you're history. The tension cracked. For a split second, Caitlyn's eyes softened. I appreciate that, she said. But it's gonna take more than one apology to fix this system. Then let's start now, Pat replied. Use my show, use this space, bring whoever you want. Let's do a whole dance series if we have to. Caitlyn smiled. Careful, McAfee. I might take you up on that. The internet lost it. Comments poured in from celebrities, athletes, fans. Billie Jean King tweeted, "This is what progress looks like: dialogue, respect, growth." Serena Williams reposted a clip with the caption, "About time the mic got shared." Even Barack Obama chimed in, tweeting, "Proud of Caitlin Clark for standing strong. Proud of Pat McAfee for listening." But not everyone was thrilled. Behind the scenes, tension was still brewing. ESPN insiders revealed that some board members had not approved the unscripted sit-down. One source leaked an email from a senior exec warning, "If this goes sideways, it's on him." The risk was massive, but the payoff astronomical. By the end of the week, the Caitlyn X McAfee episode had become the most viewed online segment in ESPN's digital history, surpassing even Super Bowl highlight packages. Caitlyn's social following jumped by 2 million. Pat's own fanbase split, with some diehard brothers accusing him of caving to cancel culture, while others praised him for finally growing up. And then came the call, just days after the episode aired. Sources confirmed that the White House had reached out. President Biden's team wanted to formally recognize Caitlyn for her advocacy and resilience in the face of media scrutiny. Not for basketball, but for changing the conversation. An invite was extended for her to speak at a national conference on gender equity in sports. Caitlyn accepted, but with one shocking condition. She wanted Pat McAfee to co-host the panel. When reporters asked her why, she didn't hesitate. Because real change doesn't come from people who agree. It comes from people willing to grow. Boom, another viral moment. Another cultural turning point. McAfee had gone from villain to vulnerable to vessel all within a week. Caitlyn had gone from victim to advocate to icon. But as always, not everything was as it seemed. Because just when it felt like closure had arrived, a second whistleblower came forward with receipts that could change everything. The entire country was still buzzing from the unprecedented reconciliation between Caitlyn Clark and Pat McAfee. The ratings were historic. The conversation was mature, heartfelt, inspiring. And for a brief moment, it seemed like we had all witnessed something rare in media: growth, humility, and mutual respect. But the honeymoon phase didn't last, because just as ESPN started crafting their next crossover docuseries and brands scrambled to ink fresh deals with both stars, a new whistleblower stepped forward, this time with proof. And this time, it wasn't about McAfee's words. It was about his motives. A former ESPN producer, speaking under anonymity but verified by multiple news outlets, dropped an explosive claim in a late-night interview with a popular YouTube truth teller. The entire Caitlyn episode, her invite, the apology, the emotional sit-down wasn't spontaneous, the whistleblower said. It was planned, negotiated, packaged. The internet gasped. According to this insider, after McAfee's initial backlash, ESPN immediately went into strategy mode. A team of crisis consultants and publicists allegedly worked around the clock to craft a redemption arc for Pat that would not only save face but skyrocket engagement. They weren't just trying to clean up the mess, the source explained. They wanted to capitalize on it. Allegedly, McAfee's apology was reviewed, reworded, and even rehearsed multiple times. More jaw-dropping was the claim that Caitlyn's team was offered a 7-figure package deal to participate in the follow-up segment, one that included future ESPN specials, branded campaigns, and creative control over a spin-off digital series. Fans felt betrayed. Again, social media flipped like a coin caught in a storm. Hashtag McAfee scripted trended instantly. So the whole thing was a setup. One viral post read, "They played us like an episode of the Kardashians." Another tweet cut deeper. "You mean to tell me Caitlyn's tears were part of a marketing plan?" Now, I'm done. But not everyone was ready to condemn. Some fans defended the move as smart brand management, while others insisted that even if it was orchestrated, the message still mattered. Still, the damage was done. Caitlyn's integrity, once unquestioned, was suddenly under fire. Her social media comments flooded with angry messages. "You sold out. Thick feminist. Congrats on your Oscar nomination." For someone who had worked so hard to remain authentic, the blow was devastating. That night, Caitlyn's official fan page on Reddit went private. Her personal account went quiet. Then came the rumors she had canceled a planned appearance on The Tonight Show. Her agent was furious. Her sponsorships were reviewing terms, and ESPN, they were scrambling again. In a rare midnight statement, ESPN released a formal denial. All recent programming involving Ms. Clark and Mr. McAfee reflected their own voices and choices. No coercion or incentive influenced the episode in question. But it was too little, too late. Screenshots from marketing emails began surfacing, emails from a sports PR agency detailing potential optics of redemption positioning for McAfee and value proposition estimates of Caitlyn's media involvement. One internal line read, "A genuine, emotionally raw Caitlyn segment could generate record-breaking engagement. Monetize post-apology arc." That sentence alone broke the internet. So was any of it real? Amid the chaos, another player entered the scene. None other than Skip Bayless, McAfee's longtime media rival, took the opportunity to throw gasoline on the fire. On his show, Undisputed, Skip didn't hold back. "I told y'all Pat McAfee was a stuntman, not a sportsman. That man will fake anything for a headline. And Caitlyn, I'm disappointed. You had the moral high ground, and you traded it for a primetime special." The comment made waves. Caitlyn's defenders rushed to her aid, calling out the misogynistic undertones in Skip's remarks, while others admitted the sting of betrayal was hard to ignore. Through it all, one voice remained noticeably absent: Pat's. For nearly 4 days after the leak, McAfee said nothing. No show, no tweets, no gym selfies. It was as if he had vanished from the internet completely. Paparazzi caught him once, entering a restaurant in LA with his hoodie up and AirPods in. Reporters shouted questions. Was the apology real? Did Caitlyn know it was a setup? Are you getting fired? But he walked silently, refusing to acknowledge a single word. And Caitlyn, her camp broke silence with a single, icy statement: "Ms. Clark has no further comment regarding Mr. McAfee or ESPN's programming at this time." Translation: the damage was irreparable. Fans were devastated. 1 week earlier, it was all cheers and hope and unity. Now it was scandal, suspicion, and silence. Memes flooded TikTok. Edits of the redemption arc soundtracked by clown music, footage of Caitlyn crying with captions like "when the check clears," and even deep-faked videos of McAfee rehearsing lines with producers. It was brutal. It was relentless. And it was going viral. Then came the final twist. Out of nowhere, Caitlyn's longtime college coach, Lisa Thompson, who had remained silent during the entire ordeal, gave a tearful interview on Outside the Lines. Caitlyn didn't want the money, she said. She didn't do it for press. She did it because she believed Pat had changed, and now she feels like she was just part of a ratings game. Her voice cracked. She's hurt. She trusted the wrong people. And I can tell you this girl doesn't play games with her legacy. The interview humanized Caitlyn again. Suddenly, the tide shifted. Again, fans began pulling back their criticism, posting apologies, tagging her with messages like "You deserved better. We got caught in the drama, and we're sorry for doubting you." But the scars were there. She unfollowed McAfee. Her docuseries deal with the ESPN quietly paused. Her endorsement team reportedly shifted focus to mental health advocacy. And McAfee, he finally broke his silence with a single post. A photo, just a notebook, scribbled across it in red Sharpie. Sometimes you try to fix it and end up breaking it worse. No caption, no logo, no branding. It went viral. For once, Pat didn't chase the joke. He didn't drop a sarcastic TikTok or clap back at the haters. He simply stepped away. Sources say his show went into hiatus indefinitely. ESPN insiders hinted his contract was being restructured, and fans were left wondering what was real, what was fake, and how to have sports media's biggest names went from being symbols of progress to pawns in a scripted spectacle gone horribly off script. One journalist summed it up perfectly in a viral thread. This wasn't a sports story. It was a morality play, a tale of power, perception, and the price of being visible. McAfee wanted to control the narrative. Caitlyn just wanted respect. In the end, neither got what they were chasing. But we all learned what happens when authenticity is treated like strategy. The saga wasn't just about one comment anymore. It was about everything: gender, media manipulation, social accountability, the commodification of outrage, and what happens when real human emotion gets processed through the meat grinder of clicks and trends. But here's the real question. Is it really over? Because somewhere in that silent war room of the ESPN board meetings, you know they're already asking, what's the next redemption arc? And how do we sell it? And just like that, what started as one offhanded comment spiraled into one of the most dramatic, polarizing, and emotionally charged sagas in sports media history. Pat McAfee, once untouchable, now finds himself at a crossroads, facing a silent storm of corporate consequences and fan skepticism. Caitlyn Clark, whose only crime was existing loudly and unapologetically, walks away with her head high but her trust broken. Both tried to repair the damage. Both were swept into a tidal wave much bigger than themselves, and now the dust is still settling, the deals are still shifting, and millions of fans are left asking the same question: what was real and what was manufactured? Is this the last chapter or just the end of season 1? What will happen to McAfee's ESPN contract? Will Caitlyn bounce back stronger than ever or decide to step away from media for good? Was this whole redemption arc a masterclass in marketing, or a cautionary tale about the cost of clout? You decide, because in a world where controversy sells and authenticity is currency, the line between reality and reality TV has never been thinner. But now we want to hear your voice. Do you think Pat McAfee's apology was genuine or damage control? Was Caitlyn right to take the high road? And who really won in the end? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let the world hear your take. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more behind-the-scenes drama, and hit that bell so you never miss another twist in this wild world of sports and scandals. Because if this story taught us anything, it's that anything can happen and usually does. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Stay loud, stay real, and stay ready for the next headline to drop. Because it always does.